friends, and welcome to the Season 20 Treaty United Building a Nation recap, which of course is my stream save live over on Twitch right now. So if you haven't already checked that out, do. We're literally live right now doing the transfer window. And well, as always, more on that in a minute. But yeah, if you are enjoying this, of course, drop a like. That would be fan-bloody-tastic. Lets me know to keep doing them. It's kind of mad that we've done 20 seasons of this save. Bear in mind, Tromsø last year when we did the Building a Nation was 23 seasons, and we're already 20 deep on Treaty. And it kind of just feels like now we're at the part where things are really starting to hot up, and the exciting stuff really can begin. And you'll see why soon. Of course, if you do want to catch the full VODs of the streams, they are all available on my second channel, link in the description in their entirety. Sometimes we have some issues, but they're always up the day after each stream. So without any further ado, let's jump into the youth intake. Now this time, it's a little different. This time, we only had 3 players that were sort of viable from the youth intake that we actually signed up, but the best of them was Mateus Gonzalez, a Uruguayan. Now, one of the reasons for that is that we think, anyway, potentially, that we have an agreement with Defensor Sporting that will allow their players to come through our youth academy. No signs to suggest that this is what happened here. It's just a bit weird that a random Uruguayan would have popped up otherwise, but life goes on. Still not fantastic, but, you know, okay composure. He's relatively quick. We've struggled with youth players, as you know, and nothing has really changed. The one thing we have done, though, this year is because our head of youth development is so good, we've now got him doing all of our sort of assessments of our players when they're actually at the club, and it's made a huge difference. We've actually realised that our players are much better, some of them anyway, than we thought they were, because he has much better judgment of both the current ability and their potential, which is awesome. So you'll see from what I mean from this when you see some of the players that we picked up this year, because bugger me, we've made some baller signings. But in addition, you might notice it's January 7th. Usually, when I do these videos, it's sort of late December. Now, we actually went a bit further on stream last time around than I was expecting, because we finished a little bit earlier in terms of the matches we were playing, and I forgot to do one that maintained the stats from last season. So unfortunately, some of those are going to be a bit missing, and I'll have to fill in the blanks for you from time to time. So apologies for that. Doesn't happen very often, but it was a slight oversight on my part. But anyway, let's jump into the signings, and there's been a buttload, like a massive amount of them, and some outs as well. And then we'll have a little look at the way the loan farm's been shaping up. But of course, the loan farm would have changed slightly because of the fact that it's been a new window, essentially, because we're technically in the new season now. First out was Orlando Martins. He's gone to Norwich City for £3.7 million. He was complaining a lot, wanted to leave. We had other options coming through. He's 32 now. I thought, you know what, let's get some money for a man that we literally, I don't think, paid a single dime for at any stage. So we went off to Norwich. Happy to let Florida man finally back into the wild. Stay off the bath salts, Orlando. Next out was Marco Rengifo. Went to Gladbach for £3 million. We brought him in. He served a purpose while he was here, and we ended up making £2.5 million profit on a relatively older player. So I was actually kind of pleased with that in the end, and he seems to have done pretty well for Gladbach so far. He was actually at Freiburg rather on loan. Then he went to Gladbach permanently for £3 million. Happy with that. And then also sold Adam Koharsky to Chelsea. Now the reason I did this was because because we could, honestly. I don't think he was ever going to play that often for us, and I'd sign him because I felt there was potential, not even potential there, potential for a big sale. He's gone for £5.75 million to Chelsea in the end. However, we do have a 50% of the next sale fee on him, as I'm fairly certain we do, which will allow us, of course, a nice big chunk of change should Chelsea want to buy that off of us, and I suspect we'd maybe be able to get upwards of £10 million for that too. So a nice £15 million for a guy that originally cost us, what did it even cost us? I think that's weird. Where did he sign for us in here? Somewhere in there, he signed for us. I think it was £1.5 million with a mandatory fee. But needless to say, I was happy with the deal. Next up is Cristobal Vargas. Weird one. You might not recognise this name, and that's because I signed him this season. So basically what happened was, we found this guy at Haugesund. He came in for £2.1 million, literally, and then immediately kicked up a load of fuss and started acting like a proper walloper. So I legitimately sold him to Porto in the same season that he joined us. Legitimately, he joined us in January, and somehow, because of the way the season's intersected, he was able to be sold in the same window for the same price to Porto. But the key thing is, we've got a 50% of next sale fee clause on him as well, so we're still going to make money on him. And the biggest deal of the window that went out was actually Borna Unterlechner, another one of these guys that I saw and thought, you know what, there's money to be made on a player like him. So we eventually paid $3.5 million to Hajduk Split for him. He stayed on loan for the entire period, never made a senior appearance for us, but then City said, yeah, we'll have a punt, we'll have a little go. And have a go is exactly what they did. They've paid $8.5 million so far. It rises to £10 million, but we also have a triggerable clause that I think at the moment is worth another £5 million. So we could get $15 million out of him as well. We are making a lot of these types of deals lately where we're just bringing in players on the cheap that maybe won't ever play for us and won't seem to join the loan farm, and immediately fobbing them off to large European sides for sometimes double, triple the money with 50% of the next sale fee clauses. And this is really how we're financing our current loan farm operation, essentially, with sales buying and selling players like this that are never going to feature for us. Brilliant stuff. Although he has played in the Premier League for Manchester City, which kind of shows you that, and he was just nowhere near good enough for our starting lineup. Not that he ever had a chance, admittedly. But that is all the outs currently. Now the ins, and this is a long list, even though there's no huge money spent technically, although there is actually more about that. We've broken our transfer record. First player in was Dusan Obradovic for £625,000. Look at the values on some of the guys that we've been bringing in. Now, this was before I changed it over so our head of youth development was doing all of our player assessments. Some of these guys were not rated at 5-star potential until we started having a guy that had ridiculous judging ability of potential. Look at them. And this is it. This is one of them. Dusan Obradovic. He's now 17, so he's just entered the loan farm system. He hasn't got a loan yet because this is his first year of eligibility. But I mean, the value on him is absurd. It's the type of guy that we could potentially receive a large bid. Another one of these players that potentially we could sell for huge money, or he could be a fantastic option down the line. One thing we've certainly not got the problem of anymore, the amount of times in the past we look at all these fantastic players like Raf Voss and Wozniak and Volkan and all of these guys that we could have signed. Ali Tikin's another one, but we just didn't quite have the money to get those deals done at the start and the scouting networks to find them. Whereas now, we're not letting that happen anymore. We are just getting players when we see a player that we kind of like and just getting them in the amount of the cost because we can afford to. Now, admittedly, he was 600 grand, so it was an absolute free hit for us, but he's turned out to be a massive one. And there are some better bargains than him in this window, believe me, particularly the Bulgarian friends. Next up was one of the bigger outlays of the window. Karol Reigel joined us for £7 million from Banik Ostrava, but he was 18 years old. He will count as a homegrown player. He's on loan at Dundalk at the moment, having spent the full season there, but you can see his value is absolutely astonishingly good as well. Only played 6 games for Dundalk because he did half a season there, but he's back on loan for a second full season at Dundalk this year, which is really going to help them on their European campaign. But look at the mentals, the physicals on this guy. We also retrained him so he could play a bit in the midfield as well. He can just do a little bit of everything, and I think he's fantastic. Surely a future Czech Republic international as well. Getting someone like this, even if it cost a bit of money, not that we couldn't afford it, we've got a £65 million transfer budget and £500,000 wage budget. We can afford these guys now. It's great. Next after that was Dragan Radojic for £1.7 million from Čukarički. Look at the values on these players. And this is the thing. We haven't had some kind of value bump, really. I swear to God, because we haven't moved up that much. Our most expensive player is valued at 40 million, which is still a lot, but it's not. We've had a little bump, but some of these guys are worth an absolute fortune. Oh, and he is wanted. Please tell me it's a loan. This would be sick. We can't actually see. It is. Bows are interested in a loan, and I'll be more than happy to get him out there on loan as well. But Dragan Radojic, 1.7 million, again, just bargains. In that same breath, there's Nemanja Ashimovic, who came in from Red Star for £2.1 million. He's out on loan at Skamrock Rovers for the moment, has played 26 times for them already over the course of the season, and just look at some of these attributes that this lad has. Still very young, not worth quite as much money as some of the other guys, but he's still a fantastic player, and there's been a lot more loan signings from other clubs this year. Certain clubs, particularly Skamrock Rovers and Sligo, have been absolutely slapping up our loan players this year, and as a result it's really changed the facets of the league and really improved Ireland on a European level. It's really only Bohemian of the big clubs in Ireland that are refusing to really take loads of our loans at the moment. They've still got a few though. Next up is probably the signing that I am most pleased with, honestly. This is Mbaye. Some of you may already be aware of this guy, but he is probably one of the biggest bargains I've ever pulled off on FM. I found him when I was doing a scouting search to set up some scout reports for international teams' underage sides. Found him in the Senegalese national team, though, at the age of 18, and he was available for £15,000. Now, originally, he was a central midfielder, but obviously, you can see the reason that we would much rather him play as a wing-back here, because he's absolutely outrageous. At 20 years old, to be this good, he is just phenomenally good. He's on 13k a week, but I had to give him a big deal to get him in. But look at the value on the man already. He is a world beater. Now, his potential fluctuates. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's 5 stars. So I still think that there's a fantastic player here with lots of room to grow. And even at his current state, he's still a phenomenal player. And I think could easily be our right back for the next 10 years, if not further, honestly. He's amazing. And for 15,000 quid, what a bargain. Then we have Olo Asogon Uche, who, another player with relatively high potential according to my my head of youth development now, 20-year-old, came in for £72,000 from Ayimba Aba over in Nigeria. I'd really like to get him a loan, but if not, we could always sell him for quite decent money. Ignoring this, I think that's just because I don't know why that is. I think I might have told him I'd sell him for that, which I don't think I will, honestly, but we'll see. Then we have Robert Ashano, another Romanian player. You know we love a Romanian on this save. £400,000 from Bottigiani. Not spectacular, but it was worth a punt, particularly as going to be a homegrown option for someone, maybe someone for the loan farm. Still has decent value, and I think we'll make money on the deal if nothing else. Then there was Maurizio Bossetti, or as we've been calling him, Maurizio Bullshitty, because he had 5-star potential and looked really good on paper. We took a punt because he was entirely free, and then went, why? Why is he so highly rated? Still, we have managed to get him a loan to Drogheda, though, so something good has actually come of that, and he's actually entered the loan farm anyway. Next up is Liberal Avia, which is a wonderful name. £475,000 from Santa Clara. He's just on a loan out on this season at St Pat's Athletic. However, he has refused to go back on loan to them, which is a bit of a shame. I would have really liked it if he had gone back, but he just didn't seem to play enough there. He only played 6 times this season for them, which is a bit of a shame. So yeah, still a solid right-sided option. Didn't pay a lot of money. Happy to do it. Next up, Dino Jedvaj. Once again, a signing from Dinamo Zagreb. 2.1 rising to £2.4 million. Just a solid option, really. One of these guys you see, we bring him in, put him in the loan farm, hope that he gets a loan. If he doesn't, we just sell him off for big money. That seems to be our new strategy now, and he's immediately gained value. Hopefully we can make the most of that. Another strange one, Gael Grugi, who we got from Nantes for, what was it, 900k? I think it was 900k. But the other thing is, look who's interested in him. Chelsea. Chelsea are interested in this man. Like, he's decent, but he's not spectacular. So if I can pull off another one of those moves, like where I get him to Chelsea for like 2.5 million maybe, get a 50% of next sale fee clause, guaranteed money. It's great. We're just printing cash. Another rather random one, Maurizio Fiorentini, an Italian that came through an Austrian side who was banging goals in for them. He got, well, actually banging goals. And he had like 93 appearances for them when we actually signed him. And that was at the age of like 18. So he was in their team very, very young. Seemed a bit overdeveloped. Now, we brought him in. He was on loan for them for a bit. He's been on loan at Pushkas, who are one of our affiliates this season. The reason for that is because your assistants will automatically accept bids from your affiliate sides, even if they violate the rules of your development list. So unfortunately, they got him basically because they snuck him through. But needless to say, it's just nice to see him playing football. And he was what? I think he was 400k again. Next up is a slightly more expensive signing, but it doesn't matter because this is Przemysław Dara. We signed him mostly because his surname is Dara, after the legend that was Dara Galvin. Rest in peace. And turned out to be a really good signing, honestly. He's massively, again, overdeveloped because he seemed to get some really early football for Legia. And, well, for £2.5 million, the guy has huge value. He's a bit slow, but he's not too bad. And I still think there's a hell of a player under here. He was originally considered 5 stars, so there's maybe a little bit of drop off there, but we're at least starting to see this. I really need to get him a loan, though. That's the key. Next, though, is where it gets really good, as if it wasn't good enough already. Stefan Valev. I told you there were some Bulgarians. There's actually 3 of them. £45,000 from Chernomorvana. I mean, he is absurd. You might not have noticed it yet. He's 6'5". He's 6'5", but has 14 pace and 15 acceleration, 15 jumping reach, high determination. His composure is relatively solid. His finishing is now up to 10. It was 8 when he got here, so he's really been working on that. Part of me feels like he might actually be the next great Bulgarian footballer, and I wonder if he might end up being our first choice striker in about 5 years. That's how good I think this guy potentially could be, and he's already been playing for us this year. Like, I'll just give you a little preview of this. He has played matches. He started 10 games for us this year, has already got 5 goals to his name. Obviously, only one of those was actually in the league. He played in some cup matches. He's played matches, and I'm actually keeping him around the first team squad because I believe he genuinely will be that good. And I'm super excited about what he could do this year. He's not a loan farm player. He is a, we're playing you in the first team type of guy, because I think there's a hell of a player under this hood. It's even obvious from here, honestly. Then there's Osmar, £1.5 million from, oh God, what team is that? I can never remember which team that is exactly. It's Palmeiras. Sorry, the SEP bit threw me. Yeah, £1.5 million from Palmeiras. Just a bit I did have a loan move sorted out for him, but he rejected it, so that's a bit shit, but what can you do, really? Then there's Neil Bremner. Again, one of these players that I signed purely based on his attributes. We saw some stuff in him, and I thought, oh, okay, he was available very cheap from Wraith Rovers, so we picked him up. I think he cost us, what, 400k again? We've found a lot of players for like 400k, which is really a nice range. That's anything under $1 million, or under $500,000 especially, is kind of our punt range, where we'll just sign players, even if we can't see all their attributes. If we just like the look of them, we'll just get them quickly, because what's the harm? It's a loan player, potentially for that. We're trying to get him a loan move, but unfortunately the only clubs that are interested at the moment are Scottish, and I don't really want to loan him to Scotland. I'd much rather him go to an Irish side again, but still, solid player. Then there's Vlad Mosh. You might notice how he's already at Dundalk, so I brought him in for £400,000, put him in the loan system, nobody was interested. Literally, as of about, I think it was towards the end of stream, actually, Dundalk came in with a bid, and I just gave, you know what, have him. So I just put the thing to 0, sold him to them for free, and there you go. They've got a really solid player, basically for free. So I was happy to do that. Next up, another one of these guys that, again, I signed purely based on his attributes rather than the star rating. So he was £31,000 from Ranheim. He's on quite a large contract for us, but I would really like to get him moved on or get him out on a loan again, because we can afford to have these kind of guys knocking about the club. That's the level we're at financially. We can afford this kind of player around, but I would like to get something for him at some point, whether it be a permanent transfer for huge money that we can do our business with, or get him in the loan farm. I love how his hair is so big it's actually cutting off in the picture. Another one. This is probably the busiest window for signings we've made. I think we made like 30 signings. This is Stefan Erlenschleger from Ranas, 200k. Once again, was worth a punt. Joins the system. See what we can do with him. Another one, Mohamed Zbidat he came from Utrecht. He's an Israeli youth international already. 8 under 21 caps at 17. Right back, great tackling ability. Dribbling's a little bit naff, but still, I think there's a player here. And again, for that kind of price, I mean, what was it we paid? 800 grand, I think, maybe a bit less than that. Solid player. Next up, another of the Bulgarians, Nikolai Dimitrov. Honestly, when we first saw this guy, we rated him higher than Valev, and so did my assistant. He joined us for, would you believe it, £45,000. there was some unbelievable bargains. This guy from Lokomotiv Plovdiv, great finishing, great composure, not the quickest, but solid option. Hopefully get him in the loan farm. Please tell me someone's interested in him. Oh, St. Pat's, you legends. That's going to be really nice. Total side note, by the way, and I'll forget this in the video later if I don't say it now. Longford Town of the second division in this league got a tycoon takeover 2 years ago. They've started spending huge money on players, and we're really hoping that they can start getting some success soon so that they can, well, if we get a tycoon in the Irish leagues that isn't, for us, that is even better. It would be amazing if they could get promoted and start to get some good players in, because we could just give them players. It'd be fantastic, but we just got to try to figure out the best way to do it, because I know that tycoons can get bored if they don't get success, as we saw at Ross County in this save. So we've probably got about 6 years to try and figure out what to do with that. But I think there's definitely something that we can make. I think that could be huge for Ireland. Hey, look, it's another Bulgarian. This time it's Vasil Atanashov. Another, I think he's 5-star rated as well. 35, I think he was £35,000 from Siska Sofia. Just like shooting fish in a barrel with these kind of signings. Not quite as highly rated as some of the other ones, but still a really solid option. Then Manuel Olsen, £3.2 million from Rosenborg. A slightly higher outlay. It just keeps going. But when you look at his value, again, really solid player. I like him to death. I think he's great. I think he'll go for the loan farm, or I don't know about the tackling. I don't think he'd probably be a first choice kind of player for us at any point, but still, I like him, and, well, look at that. If someone wants to put that kind of money on the table for him, I will bite your bastard hand off. Then Thomas Christensen, £650,000 from Orby. This is how our signings are going to look again next time, because signing so many of these guys is how we're feeding this loan farm. We had 46 players out on loan last season. It's dropped a bit now, because some have left and some have done other stuff, and we're hoping to get some more out again, but I suspect it will probably rise to above 50 this year by the time the year is actually finished, because you'll have mid-season signings too. But again, solid option, nothing special. Then there was Damien Figueroa. We actually paid over £3 million for him. He's on loan at Sligo Rovers now, which is good, and he has actually got a loan move for this season, which is really, really good. But I wasn't overly impressed with him when we signed him. I think we overpaid, but he's still a solid option, and hopefully he'll do well for Sligo Rovers. Also picked up Joaquin Miramon on a free transfer, bear in mind, from Junior FC. Like, we paid nothing for him, and again, I just kind of like what I saw his attributes on, and figured that maybe he could do a job for another Irish side, or we can move him on for big money. Also picked up Juan Carlos for £1.2 million from Valencia. He was on loan at Farrell Costanza, which is ironically how I found him, because I always look at the club, because they produce so many good players, and I found a loan guy there too, that Valencia were willing to let us have for £1.2 million. Yeah, no, I'm going to bite your hand off for that. He's got great aggression, great bravery, good jumping reach, he's solid temp poles and defending. I like him, and he's good on both feet. One of the better signings we've made that I really like, who's just joined us, is this man, Pedragon Lukacic. I think he's outrageous. He's 6'5", he's great in the air, great temp poles, only 17, good mentals, not perfect, but good. Again, good on both feet. I think he's a potential world beater of a defender. I'm really excited about him. Who's he? Dundalk. I don't know if I even want to do that. Although it might be best, honestly, just to get him some football. Then there's Jonathan Dominguez for £600,000. Brought him in from Atlas Guadalajara. You can again see the value bumps. Just when I find players that have really good mentals, really good physicals, and just look better than they should do, I just bring them in, because I always feel like we're going to make better players out of them, or at the very least make money off the deals. Second before last is Rick Rolls. Anyone who needs me to explain why we signed this man, I'm afraid this is not the right channel for you. I mean, we want to just be able to rickroll new people to the stream, basically. This is his actual name. He demanded an awful lot of money, but we had to do it. Our meme budget is about 10 million a season, so we were happy to let that one happen. But now, the broken transfer record. And you might think, really, Matt? Yeah, I'm not so sure. This is Norberto Aroujo. Now, he's cost us £19.5 million from Vitória de Guimarães over in Portugal, which is more than double our record transfer. So, let me hear me out. The reason I think that he is going to be worth that money is because I've seen several players come through at clubs that look a bit like this guy at this kind of age. And with the right coaching, they turn into absolute machines. And I've seen them because they've all ended up at other clubs. And I kind of wanted to take a punt on someone who I felt could be one of those guys before we had the chance to lose him for huge money. And it was a risk, but we just had the money. We thought, you know what, let's actually spend a little bit and see if we could find someone magical for the future. So we took the punt, £19.5 million for Aroujo. He's still on loan there for the rest of the season because he won't ever be homegrown. And I figured, you know what, getting him some football might not be the worst thing. He is still, he hasn't played for them since, obviously, because the season's only just resumed there. But still, I think there's a cracking player here. And if you can develop the way I hope he can, I think we might have a potential world beater in him. And he's good on both feet. And you know how important that could be in FM22. So that completes our transfers. Lots and lots of money spent, but that might be one of the most profitable and outrageous transfer winners I've had in years on FM, just finding bargain after bargain. And, well, I've got about 200 players on my list that we're going to be looking at on stream right now. I realise this is the longest ever transfer segment on one of these videos, but I have no choice. It was that good. That's how good it was. Right, I guess we should talk about the league. So I can't show you in too much detail, of course, because, again, as I said, we've accidentally gone into the next season. But it was our most successful season ever in terms of, I think it was a record points tally. We did manage to lose one game, though, to Dundalk. Very disappointed in that. Otherwise, we would have had an invincible season. We've had 2 back-to-back unbeaten seasons, but I wanted to go completely unmatched, where we won every match. We were 1 game away from doing it, but Dundalk beat us at home. Still unbeaten in 3 seasons away from home. But yeah, 146 goals scored and only 16 conceded. 35-point lead in the league. Still had less players in the team of the season than Dundalk did, because reasons. Like, genuinely, we had like 3 guys in the team of the season when we won the league by 35 points. But life goes on. Dundalk come second. Bows come third. Sligo Rovers at one point were looking very good for second, but just fell away at the very end because they had to play us a few times. But you can see that Cork City, one of the teams we were kind of hoping would do really well in future, have completely dropped like a stone. The reason for that? They returned a load of loan players to us, didn't want to sign them up again, and then Sligo took all of the loan players. They have about 7 guys on loan from us this season. So Cork City, congratulations, you've played yourself. Enjoy your minus 38 goals, goal difference, and your 69 goals conceded, you big mugs. So it looks like Sligo are the new big boys in that group. You can see a 19-point gap now between 5th and 6th. So those 5, including us, are really the big teams in Ireland, and that's exactly what we want. We wanted established sides that could do a job, and I think Sligo next year in Europe could genuinely be fantastic. So yeah, really, really happy with that. As for the second tier, of course, Bray Wanderers back up again. You'll notice Longford Town, despite having a takeover from a tycoon, still managed to come 7th. They have got guys on £2,000 a week. Bearing in mind, the highest paid their lowest paid player at the club is on £300 a week. Most other clubs in this division, some of their highest paid players are not on much more money than that. So the quicker Longford Town get out of this division, the better. And if they can do that, I think they could be a real threat, because they still have secure finances. They've got money being ploughed into that club. If they could get promoted and establish themselves in the top flight and actually start to get some success, their tycoon will hopefully plough more and more money into them. And hopefully we could have a new kid in town that could even challenge us maybe, but at the very least we'll be able to compete on a European level. So we have to manage this very carefully and do everything we can to try to help them. I've tried offering them loans specifically to the club. Not one of them took the bait. So I don't know how we're going to do it. If you've got any ideas on how we can help Longford Town out, that doesn't involve just saying sell them players. We can't do that. We can't buy players off them for huge money because they've got money already. It's just a question of how do we get them to be successful with that tycoon before he leaves the club, because they can get bored real quickly. And I don't really know what we can do to aid them in promotion, because they've already had that tycoon for 3 seasons now. I reckon at best we've got maybe 6 left before he gets bored, if the Ross County data is anything to go by. So there you go. Also, Vinicius, top scorer in the league, 37 goals. Best season ever domestically for a single player. He did get over 50 goals in all competitions as well. In the end, he finished on 57 goals, which is the closest anyone's come to Emmett Doran's record in years. He really is smashing, and he also beat the average rating set by Emmett Doran a few seasons ago domestically too, so what a season he's had. But now it's time for Europe. Now, of course, you knew that we drew Inter in the knockouts of the Champions League as a result of where we got to, and, well, this is what happened. Got ourselves a 2-2 draw away at Milan. Really, really solid. Hugo Perez and Kasemi getting goals for them. Sandberg and, of course, Vinicius grabbing our goals. But that Vinicius late equaliser was really, really key. And we thought, you know what, a 2-2 draw away from home, take them back home where we're always that little bit stronger. Excellent news. Except it was not to be. We took the lead through Choi Tae-hoon after 32 minutes. They then scored in first half stoppage time and second half stoppage time to knock us out of the Champions League. We had some amazing chances right before they got that last-ditch opportunity, and it just killed us. Absolutely devastating, really. On the plus side, though, Dundalk managed to batter Galatasaray 6-3 in their first round of the knockouts in the Europa League. We were ecstatic for them, so they were doing something for us in Europe, at least. And then went an even step further by beating Bayer Leverkusen by, 2-1 on the tie as well, to reach the quarterfinals of the Europa League, Dundalk. And it was there that they only very narrowly lost to Lyon, 2-1 on aggregate. They were this close to a Europa League semi-final. And if I recall, they would have played the winner of Salzburg and Hertha Berlin. So they would have had a really good chance of potentially going all the way there. But it's good to see them competing and at least helping us out a little bit. As for the Conference League, of course, Skamrock Rovers did pretty damn well as well. They managed to beat Puskás for the 4th time this season. They beat them 4 times in the same season in Europe, and of course qualified for the knockouts, the second round themselves. In that second round, unfortunately, they were dispatched 5-0 by Marseille, which wasn't fantastic, but still, nice to see that progress being made by Irish sides. Now, let's talk about Europe this year, and then we'll get into the coefficients, because we had a weird old time of it. Actually got a 2-2 draw against Brugge away from home, which then, luckily, in the second leg, we managed to overcome with a 4-1 victory. All was good. But then, despite being a pot 2 side, we ended up in a Champions League group with Real Madrid, Dortmund, and Lille. We seem to play Lille every bloody year at this rate, but not the kind of group that we were particularly looking forward to, because it was one of those groups where second place feels like a very achievable target, and you want either first or third in those groups. And annoyingly, we got bloody second place, because this is just what we do. It was a weird group, really. We lost to Real Madrid on the opening day. They actually did play very well against us, but we kept the scoreline down. Luckily, we then beat Dortmund on the second match day with a Sandberg penalty, which was good. We deserved the win. Then we went and hammered Lille 6-0. And certain we beat them 6-0 last year in the Champions League groups too, with Manea grabbing a poo. A poo? He grabbed a poo. He made them shit the bed at least. But a 6-0 victory for us there. We then, of course, got a 1-1 draw away at Lille, and that was the thing. That Lescure goal, which was completely against the run of play, and we did not deserve to concede there, is what actually ended up costing us the group win in the end, because that was an easy one that we should have won, and we just didn't, unfortunately. We did manage to then beat Real Madrid at home with a Thijs-Free goal in the 93rd minute to give us the winner, which at that point I thought, right, we've got a chance of doing this. And then obviously on the final match day, we drew away in Germany. Very lucky to get that result, honestly, in the end. But really, it came down to the fact that we didn't beat Lille. If we'd have just beaten Lille in France, none of this would have happened. We'd have won the group and all would have been well. Although, here's the thing. Real Madrid, as a result of winning this group, got drawn against Bayern Munich. We got Juventus. And I honestly feel like Juventus are a weaker side than Bayern Munich. We beat them in the Europa League final just a few short seasons ago. So actually, I think for once, second might have actually gone into our favour. Now, as for the other Irish sides, this is where it gets really juicy. Dundalk, firstly, dispatched Rapid Vienna to get a comfortable path through to the next round, where they relatively comfortably saw off PSV Eindhoven as well, 3-1 in the end. I was getting a bit worried about this because I didn't really want them in the Champions League groups with us because it just doesn't do well for them. But they had other ideas as they eventually ended up beating Benfica 4-3 to qualify for the group stages. Now, they've had a few seasons out of it and have done really well in other competitions, but the thing is, they get loads of money for it and it's great, but they can never seem to get good groups because they're not good enough yet, and as a result, they just get slapped about and it doesn't do great for Ireland. But it's nice to see that they're capable of actually earning their way in. It took us years in Norway for anyone to do that by themselves. I don't think we started getting consistent sides in the group stages in Norway until they were guaranteed a group stage spot. But Dundalk have done it 3 times already in this save. Unfortunately, it didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, as in the end, they did finish bottom of their group with 2 points. They did manage to score a couple of goals. They got a couple of 1-1 draws. They got a draw away at Porto and a draw at home against Rangers. So it was still an extra 0.4 points for the coefficient charts, but I just wonder what they could have done if they'd been in the Europa League group again. There's so many more points left on the table there, but it's nice to give them a little extra cash influx. Keeps the players interested as well, I suppose. So we'll take that. As for the Europa League, we had Bahus in it, and unfortunately they went out 4-3 to Lask, which in a way isn't really the end of the world, as it meant they dropped into the Conference League, and I felt they could do better there anyway. And of course, in the Conference League, Skamrock Rovers 5-0 trashing of Zrizhny Mostar. They got some good draws for the last couple of years, and it's really helped us, because they then went through to the next round after beating Mura 4-3 on aggregate, and of course Cork City also knocked out Ikor of Sweden. So Cork City still did okay that, considering how bad they were domestically. And then in that fourth qualifying round, unfortunately, Cork City were knocked out by Hajduk Split. It was annoying because they actually were 2-0 up in the first leg away from home, and then led in the home leg as well, but then managed to just concede goals out of nowhere, very unfortunately there. But Skamrock Rovers in the end beat OB of Denmark 5-4 on aggregate. Absolutely mental. They went into a massive lead in one of the games, then threw it all away, but then in the second leg managed to win 3-0 at home with Haijun Wan scoring bags of goals for days, seeing we had 4 sides in the group stages of tournaments this year with both Bows and Skamrock in the Conference League. Massive step up for us. First time we've ever had 4 sides in there, and what a difference it made. Skamrock Rovers won their group. They eventually got the result on the final day of the season to secure that, and they'd already qualified, but they managed to win the group. 11 points, which means they skip around, more prize money and a better chance for something there as well. Scrolling down a little bit further as well, Bows they started really well. They won their first 2 matches, but then went on a little bit of a winless run. It took a victory on the final day against Hajduk Split by a 0-0 to allow them to sneak above Dinamo Moscow into second spot and qualify for the next round. You'll notice as well, Haijun Wan, our striker on loan at Skamrock Rovers, already has 13 goals for them in the Conference League. Whoever gets him on loan, they do really well because he's just so good in the match engine when it's being simulated and you're not actually watching the matches. He just scores goals for fun. So him being on loan there is really helpful, and we're even starting to come around to like them a little bit more. Now, as for the ties and the draws for the next round, obviously you know who we got. Both have to play against Stuttgart. Not ideal. Obviously we don't know about Skamrock because they won't play until the second round of knockouts, but still, it's just a good year for Ireland, right? And that has played out perfectly with this. After the group stages are finished, we've already got 10.2 points. We're 4 points up on the season. We're losing. And the thing is, this season here, the 11-point year, that's the year that we won the Europa League. And yet we've only just got to the knockout stages at the moment. And there's already 10.2 points on the board for Ireland. And that's what happens when you start getting the other Irish sides involved. It's made a huge difference over the last few seasons. That we're going to be racking up really solid years. Now, next year is going to be tough, but we get guaranteed group stages and everybody's moved up a little bit. So there's a real chance that I think next year we could actually have 5 sides in the groups. And we might need to at this point. But the key thing is as well, let me show you this. We're potentially going to go 7th this season now. We're on we had a few little seasons of stalling out, but now, in the last few, we've gone from like 14th up to 7th in the space of about 3 years, which is fantastic. Because Portugal have had a bit of a well, they're losing a really good year and we're losing a really bad year, and it's allowed it to swing massively back in our favour. But we've just been managing the gap to Portugal. They've also only got 3 sides left in Europe, and they're not in great positions either, which is really, really helpful. Turkey have absolutely shit the bed, so we're going to be 7th, hopefully, if all things go to plan, for next season. And it's only 1 place away then from the next big step. 6th place is a big deal, and at the moment it's incredibly occupied by Germany, who've fallen off the wagon so unbelievably badly that even Scotland could potentially even overtake Italy this season. There's a chance that Scotland could go 3rd if they continue to have a decent season, because they're losing quite a bad one. So yeah, but the plus side is, if Scotland were to start having a bit of a wobble, they're losing some extremely good seasons over the next couple of years that could even pull them back into our clutches if we start doing well. Overtaking Scotland alone is going to be one of the toughest things to do. I wish I could show you more about these sort of squad stats for the season, but unfortunately we don't have them available because it's already into the next year, so I do apologise for that. But this is basically the lineup we've been going with Vinicius, Sandberg, mostly not Solis. It's either been, there's been Choi Tae-hoon, Manea's played a little bit out there as well, and he's been really effective. Aleku's been amazing, best season of his career, 20 goals and 18 assists, second top scorer in the team was he this year, so fantastic for him. Lindberg and Fries, of course. Niaksu, who's just developing like an absolute rocket. He's going to be one of the best left backs in the world soon, and there's a reason why he's on 66 grand a week, and he deserves it, honestly. Mate as well in there. Navio, who I picked up very cheap last season as well, who's done fantastic. Sao, of course, fantastic as well. Mihov, but then you've also got Valev, the Donut, Garnice, who's fallen up the team a little bit, but it's impossible not to when you've got Vinicius banging 57 goals. What a season it has been. I'm very excited to get going with this transfer window that we're doing over on stream right now, and I hope you'll want to join me for that as well. So, yeah, I wish I could show you more stats, but unfortunately I can't, so I will see you guys over on stream. If you have enjoyed this, and I hope you have, drop a like. That'd be lovely. If you're new to my content, this would be a weird one to start watching, but sure. Drop a like and subscribe. That'd be lovely too. I'll see you guys over on stream. I don't know. Mention something about how much you hate Scamrock Rovers. I mean, I'm starting to like them more now, but we've got to keep the memes going, right? I'll see you soon. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.